Hey, Warrior Saints. Welcome to our edition for today of our Crucifixional live stream. Very glad to have you beautiful people in with us. Very excited to be here and talk about some stuff. My wife and I got into it a little bit last night. Sorry to share the family tea the way that we are. But we got into it in the kitchen because we have come to an understanding at various points in our marriage that I will just be given a tour of where things go in the kitchen because it's easier if I just say, go for it, figure out where everything's going to go, give me a tour, let me know where things go now, because she is constantly trying to find things that are more efficient. Finding a more efficient way to have the pots and pans and the dishes and the cups and the this and the that in places that, quote, make the most sense. The problems ensue when we have different definitions of what makes the most sense. And last night was one of those situations where the problems ensued because we had different definitions of what made the most sense. And I shared my opinions, which is not always something that you want to do, but I did it in I thought, a loving way. But anyway, things ensued, to say the least, where we had different definitions and we came to an agreement on what would actually make the most sense. Because really at the root core of the issue is this understanding of what efficiency is. Because men and women have different definitions. Our minds work differently. We talked about this on Tuesday a little bit when we talked about marriage. Men and women have different ideas of how things should work. And we're let's be real, always trying to make things happen in the best way so that things like, for example, when we're cooking in the kitchen, are able to be done in the most efficient way so that we're not spending an exorbitant amount of time or extra time, wasting time doing things that we don't necessarily need to do while we're cooking, right? Our goal is to cook. We don't need to be worried about all of the little steps and adding extra steps trying to find everything. But apparently we do need to add extra steps of trying where to find everything, which is where the issues came in last night. But it got me thinking, sometimes this is not only true in our conversations in the kitchen, but this is true across the board. Think about how often we try to simplify things in our lives and we try to find more and more efficiency tools that we can use, trying to get us I'm okay, if I have this tool, then I will be more efficient in everything that I'm doing. Oh, but now I need this tool to add to that tool so that I can be more efficient in everything that I'm doing. And now I need to also add this tool. So for example, I have 3 different Google Drives. One that goes with each Google email account that I have. I have different things in each of those Google Drives. Each Google Drive is there to give me more efficiency and to simplify my life so that I can keep things in the cloud and not be worried about where they are physically on my desk and all of these things on my desktop, taking up space on my hard drive. All of these things are my efficiency tools. And yet I have 3 of them. Let's not forget, I also have 3, maybe 4 drop boxes, one for each of those email addresses, in addition to a potential OneDrive that I can get through my email address for work. Plus, then I also have iCloud that comes with my subscription for free to my Apple. Are you confused? Because I'm also confused. And what ends up happening is every time that I need to find something, that I'm lost in all of my different efficiency tools because I'm trying so hard to find everything, and I get so lost in my efficiency that I am completely and utterly inefficient. Scripture teaches us this. And Scripture actually has a lot to say about this. Because in the book of Proverbs, when we talk about wisdom, it is actually the opposite of inefficiency. Wisdom in Scripture, I think in some ways can be replaced. We could replace the word efficiency with wisdom. But what's interesting is how Proverbs, specifically in chapter 9, deals with that. And how it talks about it. Because by comparison, if wisdom is then efficiency, then the opposite of wisdom, which is foolishness or simpleness, would be then inefficiency. And Proverbs chapter 9, verse 6 makes it extremely clear. And it says very blatantly for us, leave simpleness and live. And what's the last part? In so doing, we then walk in the way of insight. When we leave that inefficiency, when we leave that simpleness, and when we leave behind this idea that there is going to be a quick fix, something that is going to be the one thing that we need to do that is going to solve all of our problems, but then in turn ends up creating all of these other problems and leaving us floundering in this inefficiency. When we leave that behind and we rely on the actual wisdom of others, that tried and true practices can work, we're actually able to get a lot of things done. We are then able to walk, and we are then able to walk in the way of insight. And I've got great news for you. Excellent news, exciting news, news that you do not want to miss because it is actually going to change your life. There is a book out there that contains this wisdom, that teaches you what it means to walk in the way of insight, and that allows you to move forward, leaving simpleness behind. It's called the Bible. It's a wonderful, wonderful book that I recommend all of you read, because in it, we find out what God's plan is for us. We find in it what God's wisdom actually looks like and what it really means to walk in the way of God's insight, leaving simpleness behind and being able to actually live in a world that is as God created it to be, which cannot get more efficient because that is how that design was. And that life, that practice can be encapsulated in 2 words: crucifixional living. When we focus on living our life in a crucifixional manner, leaving behind the chaos of the world and actually striving to find what it means for us to focus not on just our own wants, our own desires, but focus on the needs and wants of others, then we are actually able to walk in that way of insight. We are actually able to live. And that is precisely what we are here to help you do. That is what we strive every single day at the Warrior Saints movement to do, is to help you unlock, unpack, and understand what it means to live that crucifixional life, to walk in the way of insight that God has laid out for us, and to live life as God has created you and I and Father Chris and everyone in this world to be. So we urge you, we encourage you, we invite you, we welcome you. We use all of the different words that we can find in the thesaurus to do it. Get on the way of the Warrior Saint. Visit us at warriorsaints.org. Subscribe to the Way of the Warrior Saint. Coming soon, we're going to have another one called Understanding the Bible. We're working on becoming men. We're working on a marriage class, as I talked about on Tuesday. We've got so much stuff that we are working on in the most efficient way possible, so that we can give to you what it means to follow God's wisdom and walk in the way of insight, leaving the chaos of the world behind, focusing on that place that we are all striving to get to, that place that is peaceful, that place that is how God intended everything to be. And we want you to come along with us. We will be back next week on Monday with another set of live streams for the week. And we'll be back on Sunday with Orthros and Divine Liturgy at 9 a.m. and 10 Pacific time, respectively. And until we see you then, make sure you keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.